Hubbard came from the city kennel as part of our dog transfer program, and he came to us as a thin dog. Although he was gigantic, he was significantly underweight, and he had a condition called entropion where his eyelid rolled in to the point where his lower eyelashes were rubbing on the surface of his cornea, on the surface of his eye. And if you've ever had an eyelash in your eye, you know how uncomfortable that is for 10 seconds or 30 seconds. He had this every single day since he was born. Then to top it all off, he had heartworm disease. So he had literally worms living in his heart and lungs. So he was in pretty rough shape. Despite both of those issues, he was happy and a great dog. That's really what we look for, is an animal that's willing to accept these treatments.
As Hubbard began to feel better, he turned into this giant puppy. And all of a sudden we had this 130-pound dog who, was, running, jumping on us, like living life like he never got to when he was little. So we had set some parameters for his adoption. We wanted to play it safe. No small kids that he could accidentally knock down, no little animals that he could potentially step on. He never meant any harm, but he didn't know his own size. So this family came in and they broke all the rules. They had little kids, they had cats, they had a tiny little dog, and he just did phenomenal with them.
The reason that we got Harold was Amy had another Dane that she had for 10 years. It was her best friend. In fact, when I first met Amy, she was known as the small girl with the big dog. And so Olivia was that dog and was with her forever. And we were out on one of our work trips, first time together, working together away, and Olivia passed away, and it was a pretty big blow for Amy. And so it was about a month or so later that we started to discuss possibly thinking about getting another Dane. And then she had seen on a Sunday that there was a Dane at the Cleveland APL. It was the summer and my kids were home for the summer, and so I kind of piled them into the car on Monday and went down to the APL to see if the Dane was, what the situation was with the dog. So we got there and we went and we saw Harold Hubbard at the time, and he was there, and it was like, he was awesome. He was like this big old pooch, and it was just, it felt like kind of like we knew him already.
We flew there and got there, introduced the dogs. They got along beautifully, and we took them home a couple minutes later.
Yeah.
You know immediately when an animal is gone, especially an animal that you've put a lot of work in and you've seen go through a lot. You know usually within minutes that animal has left the building or is leaving the building. A buzz usually starts around the shelter that animal's found a home.
When I first started here, we had no money. We had no second chance program. I think we had about $75 a month discretionary to put towards extra medical care. And so if you have a pet and you care for that pet and you go to the vet, you know that $75 doesn't go very far.
I think it's amazing. I'm so pleased that they're doing that. I mean, the heartworm is a very costly and time-consuming treatment. So to be able to put those resources, the time and the money into it to save a life, I think that's awesome.
The Second Chance program was implemented in 2008, and it has truly changed the culture of what we're doing at the Cleveland Animal Protective League, and I think across the country. I think what we're seeing is a complete shift in the community's mindset towards it's not okay for these animals not to have a chance to go home and live as a beloved pet with a family just because they've come into a shelter, period, but especially if they come into a shelter anything less than perfectly happy, healthy, and fluffy.
Simon came to us one day in July. He was brought in by a Good Samaritan. She'd seen the cat in her neighborhood for several weeks, just hanging around, didn't think anything of it, and then one day she went out and he was just lying on the side of the road, unable to walk. So she scooped him up, put him in a cardboard box, and brought him to us.
I went up to look at him, and he was lying in a cage in the admitting department, and tried to help him to stand up, and his back end collapsed under him. And we put him in a cage to rest him, gave him pain medication, and sent him to get an x-ray. And not only did Simon have a broken pelvis, but he had a dislocated hip on the right side, and the femur, the long bone in your leg, was fractured. So we were fortunate enough to be able to use money from the Second Chance Fund to have a pin placed in his left rear leg. So he has a metal rod going through that long bone, and as soon as he had that placed, he was a new cat. He was fixed, and he could hobble. He was just so weak in that back end, but he would walk to see you every morning in the clinic. He demanded canned food every morning, And he was just such a special cat. He went out to foster with 2 little brother cats that he had met in the recovery area, and was just a gentle soul, just a wonderful cat. And he was a very special cat to me.
Short story of it is that we had just lost one of our cats, and it was tough. It was a cancer thing, and I was kind of looking to plug that hole. So I went out and got on the internet and looked on the APL site, and there was this really nice looking white cat. You know, we didn't know the reason he had been in there 9 months, but we figured no cat deserves to be in there that long, so we wanted to give him a good home. He meowed once on the way home, and let me tell you, he's a cat of few meows. He just doesn't say too much. But within a day, boy, oh boy, they were running around playing together, and he's just fit in like a glove. I can't believe it. Like I said, he walked out of that carrier like he owned the place.
We can look at each animal as an individual, and we can make decisions that are going to change their lives. It changes our lives, and it also changes the lives of the people that take them into their homes.
What a good pooch.
No matter how many times we say this, no matter how many times we come back and celebrate this, it never means anything less. It continues to mean more and more and more, and the animals that we weren't able to help last year, we have been able to help this year, and we don't plan on stopping. We're going to keep looking for ways to help animals that we haven't been able to help in the past. And that's what makes us get up in the morning and come into the Cleveland APL and know that we're going to make a difference.